I have a brief sort of presentation on the whole crypto space, trying to very briefly go about the crypto definitions and all of that, but focusing mainly today on how it impacts the lives and how I believe we all will encounter crypto over the next few years. So that's our topic for today: crypto demystified, the what, how, and why. Just some of the common tokens which most of you may have heard about are Ethereum, Bitcoin, Solana. These are among the most highest market cap tokens in the world today. And the lower half of the screen has some of my personal NFTs that I own, and these are part of various projects, both global and in the US, and sort of fairly popular projects if you're in the space. So what is crypto, right? The biggest question and the first question that I generally encounter from everybody is, what is crypto? It's basically the whole industry is now being called Web3. It's built on the pillars of decentralization, privacy. It's supposed to be permissionless and trustless. The entire concept revolves around not having an intermediary that needs to be trusted, and that the system works on its own. A lot of the Web3 industry is based on blockchain. It's tokenized, and it's focused on building a community and a feeling of oneness, a feeling of belonging amongst the users, more than a transactional customer space. But having said all of that, we're really very early. We don't really know what crypto is. And let's sort of see how that has panned out for the internet as a whole.
Millions of Americans own a personal computer. If you're one of them, you can now glimpse the future with nothing more than a modem, a phone line, and a few dollars a month.
Oh, that's
that little
right.
mark with the A and then the ring around it.
At?
See, that's what I said. Katie said she thought it was about.
Yeah. Oh.
But I'd never heard it. I'd never heard it said. I'd always seen the mark, but never heard it said. And then it sounded stupid when I said it. Violence at NBC.
Just what is this main artery of the information superhighway?
Every business, no matter how large, no matter how small, will be on the internet in the year 2000. It's the primary way that people will look up information. It will replace the yellow pages as we know it today.
Are a lot of people just getting on to the internet because they feel that they have to get onto the playing field, so to speak?
Well, it's very hip to be on the internet right now.
There it is. Violence at NBC, GE.com. I mean...
Well, Allison should know. What
is internet anyway?
Internet is that massive computer network. The one that's becoming really big now.
What do you mean? That's big. How does one? What do you write to it like mail?
No, a lot of people use it and communicate. I guess they can communicate with NBC writers and producers. Allison, can you explain what internet is?
No, she can't say anything in 10 seconds or less.
I'm afraid that if I subscribed to something like internet, you would really be hooked. I would get hooked, and I would never, spend time with my family. Does it bother you at all that these are all people that you don't really know? I mean, that everybody's signing on and having these conversations and whining together or griping together or whatever, with people that I don't know if I.
It is group therapy of the 90s.
Well, as I mentioned, I have no desire to be a part of the internet because I feel like I'm so inundated with information all the time that I don't want more. Don't you ever feel like it's just constant bombardment?
I don't know. I guess the thing I'd resent most is I would resent that, at least when you're home, if the phone rings, you have the option of not answering it. On the internet, people can send you messages all the time you don't even want to hear from.
So that sort of is the context in which we believe that, and just like 25 or 30 years back, people felt that the internet is something that either they don't understand or they don't need. Today, the Web3 space has that same sort of feeling, and it brings about similar emotions. And these are people who were celebrities or who were in the know. So you're looking at TV anchors who meet really smart people and successful people every day, or you're looking at, you had Eric Schmidt, the co-founder of Google, you had Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft, on that video telling people how they thought the internet will evolve over the next couple of decades. And that's why today we believe that Web3 is going to be the future, and that future is going to be powered by three things, which are the building blocks of Web3. One is the blockchain. A blockchain is basically a public ledger. Two is smart contracts. Smart contracts are immutable code that are deployed on a blockchain and can be run autonomously. So you don't need someone to determine whether a condition is met or not. Once the condition is met, a smart contract will execute. And third is digital assets. So everything that comes under the purview of what you hear as tokens, whether they're cryptocurrencies or NFTs or DeFi projects, all the digital assets which live, quote unquote, on the blockchain are sort of the third pillar that Web3 is going to be powered by. And the overall objective of the Web3 ecosystem is to build a trustless mechanism that avoids double spending. Double spending means where there is no chance of the same token being held by two people. So there is always a consensus on the current location or the current ownership of a token. The evolution of Web3, as you can see, these logos over here are basically Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3. Web 1 was more about being decentralized. It was more read-only and access-driven. So it brought access of the internet to the world. Web 2 is where you had social platforms. It was more participatory, more interactive, but it ended up creating centralized giants, all of which are popularly known as the FANG companies or the Four Horsemen. We've got everything from Facebook, Twitter, Google, Amazon, Uber, YouTube, etc., Apple. And Web3 is now, these are a suite of apps that are being built around decentralization. And some of the concepts that you will areas you will hear very frequently when talking about Web3 are cryptocurrencies, NFTs, decentralized gaming and entertainment, the metaverse, and decentralized finance. But more importantly, how does Web3 improve our life? So today, let's focus on about 4 or 5 areas in which I believe Web3 will improve the quality of our life and the efficiency of our lives. And one way is payments. We're looking at this short video. It doesn't have any audio, so I'm going to speak alongside it. That anybody in India knows how this works, but for people who are based outside of India, it's not very easily understood, where you can choose to send money or value to somebody across the internet through an app. Like we do, we all know about UPI, or we all know about net banking, etc., through Paytm wallets. But globally, that option is not available. And what cryptocurrency does is it allows you to do this on a global basis. So it's boundaryless, it's 24/7, it's instant. There is no intermediary. You don't need to trust a Paytm or a Kotak or a bank to be to run this transaction for you. The money is on the blockchain, the token is on the blockchain and being sent to somebody else on the blockchain. So you can actually track those transactions on the blockchain. And the transaction costs are extremely low to basically facilitate low value, high volume transactions. It's always easy to price high value transactions because the transaction cost is not a stumbling block. But if I am sending somebody $1 or 20 rupees, I don't want to spend 10 rupees trying to do that. So that's where the transaction cost provides a lot of advantage. A couple of companies that are doing great work in this are Strike. Strike recently raised $81 million to take it. Strike is also owned by the founder, Jack Mallers, who took cryptocurrencies as a legal tender to El Salvador. And basically that became the first country last year to allow Bitcoin as a legal tender. Next, we look at how it Web3 will impact our customers' lives, either as customers, many of us here are part of businesses and therefore always involved or somewhat involved in the sales and marketing process. So you'll see NFT communities where a great example I always take is Tiffany, the famous jewelry store in New York. They brought about this CryptoPunk pendant, which allowed CryptoPunk NFT holders to have a customized pendant built for them. And this was sold for approximately 50 ETH, which is like $50,000 at that time. And the most recent entrant is Metaverse, which is one example here is Walmart in Roblox. I'm going to play this very short video on Walmart's entry into Roblox, which was last month, and how they've perceived users and customers can interact with them in the metaverse.
I got a good feeling. I got a good feeling. I got a good feeling.
Third is the concept of digital twins. We can see a Prada time capsule, which is actually an NFT, and they launch a limited number every month. Everybody who owns an NFT of the Prada time capsule can exchange it or can go and get a real world merchandise for it, an apparel. And that sort of allows them to combine the concept of physical world with the digital world, and at the same time create something unique that allows communities to be built. When I say gated communities on social media, today, a lot of brands struggle to reward loyalty and identify really loyal customers. So they typically run loyalty programs. If they were to do, if they were to use NFTs to do this, there are several options, including allowing only customers into certain places or allowing only customers that have NFTs into certain communities, which would then be unique because I can't share my NFT like I can share my username and password. If I have to share my NFT driven access with somebody, I have to actually part with that NFT for them, to them, and then only can they access that part. So like we'll see over here, it's got many benefits like being personalized. Communities allow many-to-many conversations instead of one-to-many conversations, which a lot of brands want with the recent influencer marketing and content marketing on social media. You see that they want to bring about many-to-many conversations and not one-to-many conversations. And lastly, of course, it allows you to recognize and reward your most loyal or your most valuable customers. Next is how Web3 will improve our lives around financing, fundraising. We all remember, some of us may remember how stocks or equity was actually held in a physical format, say about 2 decades back. And today, there isn't even an option to have a physical stock certificate for any listed company. So this in the future could actually become tokens on a blockchain so that even the ledger which today the company has to maintain is not required and it's live because it's on a blockchain where tokens are held by the shareholders. It will allow a lot of new concepts like fractional holding or part holdings, because one token can then be broken into even 1 million units with a fraction of a cost. So the transaction and the management cost is almost zero. Most recently, we've seen KKR, one of the biggest private equity fund in the world, open its healthcare fund for as low as $100 to retail investors through fractionalization. They've used this company called Securitize, which does that. And all of this will allow us to explore as business owners or finance teams a new way to raise money to crowdfund without an intermediary. Today, if you have to crowdfund, you have to actually use a platform like AngelList or Let's Venture or Republic. or some form of platform, with NFTs and with tokens, there will be a manner to do this directly with your community where an intermediary is not required. That saves you time, it saves you money, and it gets you direct access to your customers who can then use that opportunity to invest and back themselves, to back you as a business. Of course, the benefits are it democratizes access, it reduces friction and cost of administration. All of this is also borderless. Today, when you try to list a company, you are typically listing in one geography, and you are therefore restricted to fundraising with participants who are investing in that geography, either through whatever route. But with token investing or token based fundraising, you can do this globally. Next, we look at how Web3 will impact the entertainment and gaming industry. A lot of companies are now building ticketing, gaming around decentralization and tokenization. This allows for certain unique business models to be created. One is where you have games, and those game assets can now be sold as NFTs. So if I am a really good player of PUBG or Clash of Clans, I have the opportunity to sell my player as an NFT to somebody else, or even rent it to somebody else who wants to pay me uh, to use that and play with that NFT, play with that avatar or play with that player in the real world, inside the game. And one of the most famous examples is Axie Infinity, how they in the Philippines during the COVID 2020 and 2021 years actually ended up creating tons of employment and play to earn business models for the people who were busy playing Axie Infinity. And therefore, today, Axies, there are like more than 3 million Axies in the world, and each of them is valued in hundreds of dollars, if not more. Another new concept is that of ticketing and proof of attendance. When we typically buy tickets, a lot of times there is a black market or a secondary market. If you have NFT tickets, the original host or the seller of the ticket can charge a royalty and also track those tickets as they move hands, therefore giving them much more data, much more information, much more control. And at the same time, authenticating NFT token ticketing is very easy. It cannot be faked on the blockchain. So therefore, you end up with a lot of uh, features which are not available today when we look at traditional Web2 ticketing. There's also things like proof of attendance NFTs, where if I attend, say you attend this talk today, and we were to drop each of you an NFT, then you could have proof that you attended this session. This may not apply to our Zoom talk today, but I'm sure there are events, etc., that people want to attend. Like, hey, I attended the Cricket World Cup final in Bombay in 2011, and I have this NFT, which is a permanent proof of attendance of that event. So there are several use cases which can be built around gaming, entertainment, and a lot of companies are building ticketing, proof of attendance, dynamic NFTs around this entire industry. So all of this means that crypto is already worth trillions. So I've just given a very, very brief glimpse over here. The two most valuable fungible tokens are Bitcoin and Ethereum. Their current value as of today, I just pulled these off this morning, is about $500 billion. And at its peak, this was about 3x this value. So I believe both put together would be close to around 1.5 trillion at their peak sometime this time last year. And if you look at the top NFT collections, I've just picked up the top three, which is CryptoPunks and Bored Apes and Mutant Apes from the Yuga Labs. And though their market cap is given in Ethereum, the first one is about $1 billion, and the second and third one combined are about $1.5 billion. So that is the sort of value that today you have in fungible tokens, in non-fungible tokens, and these don't even capture the potential of bringing on real world assets. So the actual next frontier for crypto is to bridge real world assets with the token world. What you're seeing in the last 10 years, since Bitcoin is only 13 years old, is basically that we had a proof of concept where a blockchain concept was born, Bitcoin came into being, it got used, Ethereum came on the scene 5 years back, 6 years back, and introduced the concept of smart contracts, which led to creation of fungible, non-fungible tokens and digital assets. And now you're looking at a lot of people working on bringing real world assets onto the blockchain or real world ownership onto the blockchain. I was in a conference in New York recently, and I met folks who are already having permission from the New York municipality, the city, to basically allow NFT sales of their apartment. So if you buy the NFT, you buy the apartment. And the city of New York is already allowing such things to happen. And we'll see it happening all the more in the future. But everything is not as hunky-dory and as well as it sounds. Of course, there's a lot of negative forces, a lot of malintent that's there in the industry. You have people who are, you frequently hear about scams, hacks, thefts in the crypto world. And unfortunately, they end up being in tens and hundreds of millions of dollars, if not more. As also you've heard about the Luna crash or other crashes, which basically are sort of rug pulls where the promoters or the proponents of that project intended to run away with the money. The only thing is that all of this is early days. There will be systems built for people. There will be protocols built by the industry. There will be regulations by governments in the near future. You're looking at, I believe, in the next 12 to 24 months, we will have regulations in the crypto industry. All of this combined makes it tough to understand. You may feel, hey, Pranav, I don't get what crypto is. It's really difficult to transact. I don't know what a wallet is. It's a really unfriendly user interface. I'm always worried that I'll end up losing money or I'll get scammed. But just to remind you all, everything about the internet also wasn't always this easy. So we have this short video here, which tells you how the internet was a couple of decades back.
Obviously, the big advantage of a piece of equipment like this is to be able to couple it up back to my home base over the telephone line using one of these, a modem. Of course, to do that, you do need a telephone. So you can see why I was hoping to amaze you all, and not least of all myself, by simply plugging the telephone into the modem and connecting the whole lot up from the train to our electronic mailbox in London so that I could send some messages to it and receive the messages waiting for me. The only problem is, it's a payphone, and none of us have got enough change to make the call to England, because we'd have to bring a sack of money in here to do it. Added to which, when we did test it, the line is too noisy for this particular modem. Still, you can't win them all. Maybe sitting on floor in honourable Japanese hotel room, I'll have better luck. Let's see, let's put a call into London. Now that's got me through to London. Now we'll dial the computer. 2, 4, 8, 5, 7, 4, 7. Wait for a moment till we get some computer tone. Yes, there it is. Now, we've got to make a very good connection here with the modem. Just stuff that really firmly in there, like so. Tell our little computer here that we're on term, so it's now talking directly to the computer in London. And wait for something to happen. Yes, there goes the cursor now, flashing across the screen. And voila, this is Presto. Wonders will never cease. Now, what it wants from me now is my account number, which is a 10-digit number, and I'm not going to tell you what it is, otherwise you'll copy it. moment or two while it assimilates that. Now it wants my personal ID. And off we go with the messages. There's the first one.
So we saw how counterintuitive it was to work on the internet, access your email, and today we roam with so much computing power on our phones, 24/7 connectivity. We don't even think about it. One particular concept I want to leave you with over here is if you're above the age of 30, 35, you probably saw a world pre-internet being everywhere. Whereas if you're in your late teens or early 20s, you've always assumed that internet is available when required. And now kids who are in their early ages, say less than 10, are in the future going to have a world where the internet is omnipresent. If you ask my 7-year-old daughter and she about the internet, for her it's amazing that there is a place where there is no internet, because in her mind the internet is just omnipresent. So that's how it is with Web3 and crypto and tokens. What may sound alien to us because of our conditioning will actually be native to the kids who are born today, playing the Roblox or the Minecrafts and interacting with NFTs as their profile pictures. That's all from me for today. And thank you very much for taking the time. I'm always available. You can scan this QR code and that's my link tree. It has all my socials, sharing some pics from my visit to the Bitcoin conference in Miami, which is an annual conference, and sort of some of the influencers and the big Bitcoiners in the space. More than happy to take questions and sort of interact with all of you if you would like to ask anything.
I guess you're in mute, sir.
Now open to questions now. You can put in your questions in the chat box or you can ask Pranav directly, whatever way you feel.
Sir, may I?
Sure.
Aditya Shankar here. Same, we're meeting within 24 hours again. Just wanted to know one question. I'm not sure. This Ethereum just recently moved from proof of work to proof of stake, right? Now, the very idea that it is supposed to be decentralized, right? How do you look at proof of stake? Because the bigger the stake that you have in the blockchain, the more authority you have in authenticating a transaction. So how do you look at that development? Doesn't it go against the whole decentralization concept?
So I am a Bitcoin maxi. You will never see me say good things about Ethereum's network, but absolutely, I completely agree with you that the proof of stake is a broken system. The only meritocracy, the only merit-based system is the proof of work, which although has a cost and although has a energy consumption, is the merit-based system, because everybody who's connected to the Bitcoin network needs to keep hashing to be earning a reward. The proof of stake essentially is just like the current economic system, where the rich get richer because they have more Ethereum to stake on the network, and therefore they take away more of the fees that are created on the network. So I completely believe that it's not decentralized. Currently, the stats, it's actually, I think, exactly a month since Ethereum was migrated to proof of stake today. 15th of September, 16th of September is when it happened. And in the last 1 month, we've seen that the top 3 to 4 validators contribute about 70% of the stake in the Ethereum network. Plus, the SEC in the US is looking at charging Ethereum as a security. And if that happens, it will become a whole bloodbath on the Ethereum blockchain. Someone's asking on chat, how would the government legalization affect crypto? Legislation affect crypto? I think the good thing between what happened, especially in India 5 years back, 4 years back, and now, is that the government realizes that you cannot ban the internet or you cannot stop the internet. Therefore, Web3 and cryptocurrencies will continue to be available and survive. However, there is a clear understanding both in the industry and outside that cryptocurrencies will have regulation, especially whenever they bridge into real world assets or real world money. At the same time, things like metaverse or having an avatar in a metaverse or owning an NFT may not have legislation or regulation around them. To my entire community, and my message to everybody is that regulation is not a bad thing. In fact, it brings about a lot of clarity. Plus, it always protects the retail investor or the minority participant who otherwise would not have a recourse or a redressal mechanism in case something goes wrong.
So Pranav, one question from my side.
Sure, Deepak.
How much time do you think Web3 will overtake the world?
The main adoption curve will depend on two things. First is institutional interest and regulatory clarity. So I bunch both of those together because till institutions want to participate, even the government doesn't really care about regulations around it. So both of those will sort of happen at the same time, and one will trigger the other. So as the government gives more clarity, more institutional interest comes in, and that brings more regulatory clarity. So that's one. The other thing that will come about is the innovation and the simplification of the UI UX, which is the user interface and the user experience. Today, like we saw in that video where the gentleman was trying to get his email while he was in Japan and he was from London, we'll see the wallets, etc., being extremely tedious to use. Fairly detailed steps are required and they're exhaustive. But just like the internet has improved in the next 20 years, I think in the next 5 to 10 years, we'll see that the adoption curve will kick up once the simplicity, either through apps or through other medium, are brought about in the Web3 space. So I think those two will lead to adoption. To answer your question, I would say the next bull run in 2 to 5 years is when the mass adoption, where the first billion people come to the blockchain and own some token or the other, will happen in the next 2 to 5 years. The first billion for crypto.
All right, thank you.
How CBDC will affect the crypto world? CBDCs are basically, there are two types. There could be blockchain based, non-blockchain based. The RBI, the Indian government, released a concept note on CBDCs. I'm happy to share it. If you hit me up on social media, I'll share it with you. It's a 50-pager, but it could be blockchain based or non-blockchain based. A CBDC is basically a digital currency note, which the RBI is trying to bring out, or other central banks are trying to release. And though I personally feel that CBDCs are a great way for surveillance and sort of super big brother type of actions by the government, because it will allow controllable and programmable money. They could actually send me like, hey, this is 100 rupees I'm sending you, only to be used in public transport because you're being subsidized for not owning a car. And that then sets apart too many restrictions. As also, one advantage of currency today is it's private. If I give you a 100 rupee note, nobody else knows that this note came from me, and funds are fungible in your wallet. When you have 10 such notes, it doesn't matter where they came from. But on the blockchain, that currency will be traceable. So the whole movement of that currency will be traceable for its lifetime. And that's a huge privacy risk in my view. Jaswant, yeah. So cryptocurrency, how it can address the relationship with monetary system in India, a case where a tea seller in Bangalore, an auto driver in Bangalore were news for accepting crypto. I think media wants to go for hype. They choose to report articles that get them more viewership or readership. But there is absolutely no harm in allowing cryptocurrencies to be traded, or crypto to be used as a payment mechanism. However, I think the government will never make it legal tender. What will happen is it will remain a digital medium which is borderless, which is online. And in the future, we will see cryptocurrencies being used for online transactions. So it may not be for a lot of value addition in a local case where technologies like UPI, etc., exist in India, but especially for cross-border transactions and for digital purchases where the seller is not accessible physically, we will see cryptocurrencies being used. Hi, Ankita. Yes, absolutely. If you want a career in Web3, I would highly recommend doing some course or the other. I've done 2 courses. One is a certified Bitcoin professional from an institute in Canada. The other is a 4-week sort of immersive live cohort-based course run by Pomp, who's a crypto influencer, a Bitcoiner. And I am actively engaged in the community. You should be a part of as many crypto communities as you can. There are local meetups in all cities today, in all large cities today around the world. Please feel free to look it up, Google it. If you want, I can help you search for meetups in your city and go to them, talk about it, join those communities. That's how you get access to the ecosystem. Think about skills that you can transfer. So if I'm a finance guy, I very well fit into NFTs where there is fundraising or tokens, tokenomics, business planning, business modeling, financial modeling for crypto projects. Similarly, if you're a marketing guy, look at how customer engagement, sales, etc., promotions, offers can be done using Web3, or whatever are your current skill sets. Look at how you can transfer them into the Web3 space and follow people on Twitter, follow people on LinkedIn. That's where all the influencers and thought leaders of this space are. Feel free to DM people on LinkedIn, Twitter, because that's a very small space yet. It's not reached a space where people don't accept that. So I have DM'd literally unicorn founders in Web3 and got responses to my DMs on Twitter and LinkedIn. And that, though it may seem that never happens, will actually happen. You will hear back from a lot of people in the crypto space. And if I can help anyway, feel free to reach out, and more than happy to help. Any other questions? I would definitely look at Bitcoin Standard by Saifuddin. That's a great book on Bitcoin. I believe if you want to dive deeper and go down the Web3 rabbit hole, the first thing you should do is understand what Bitcoin is, how it came about, and how it works. If you invest 50 hours in understanding what Bitcoin is, it will open up the whole Web3 space, because everything else is an application of that concept. And Bitcoin is the sort of framework or the backbone of this entire space. That's where this concept came about in 2008, when the pseudonymous founder of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, who we all don't know even today who the real identity of that person is or that group of people is, and they basically launched Bitcoin in 2008, and from there, as they say, the rest is history.
Okay, I think there are no more questions, so we will end this talk now. Thanks, Pranav. I think it was an excellent presentation, very basic, as well as along with the videos, etc., made it very interesting. And things which we think are impossible today were impossible some time back. I mean, that is very clear in your presentation. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for attending, sir. Pleasure to speak to our alumni always, and always available. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jigar. Thanks.